Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shauna K. If you're new here, I talk about all things womanly. I have a podcast called The Seasoned Woman where I talk about life, spirituality, career, hustling, running your own business, motherhood, wifehood, divorcehood, you name it. I definitely talk about alternative medicine, so I'm a huge fan of natural alternatives like CBD, marijuana, kratom, though I will not push it, promote it, or recommend anything specific. But I will definitely talk about it because more people should. This particular video is more leaned towards my spiritual themes that I do. If you're not really into those, then you can just go ahead and skip this one this week. But you know me, I always have a good one around the corner, so, stay subscribed. Are they gone yet? Some people just really need to tap into their spiritual side and they would feel so much better. Speaking of, this video, I'm going to talk about
Mercury Retrograde.
It has boosted in popularity as of late, probably more so within the past 5 years. Astrology in general has increased massively in popularity. People I've been following for years are suddenly boosted. Their channels are like tens of thousands of subscribers. People wanting to learn about astrology. I think it all started with Channing Tatum and this post that he made a while back about this app, and then how it like creeped him out because it like pretty much nailed his life. Either or, that's good and bad. The good is more attention is being brought to spiritual self-care. That would help humanity in the long run. It helps with depression, it helps with suicide, it helps with crime. When you have mentally healthy people, it helps. It trickles down to really benefit the community. So we should always be encouraging that. The side effect or downside to the boost in search on astrology throughout the internet is a lot of new people come on the scene that probably just heard about it for a first year and are suddenly experts. So you get a lot of people that fall in love with it, or they start misunderstanding things and thinking something a different way instead of actually learning in depth. And that actually takes work. To really learn about something, you have to take your time to really focus your energy and research something so you know for a fact what you're learning. Some people just, take the bare minimum because we're very busy people. And that's the knowledge we'll take in, and then we're really not truly representing the truth of the entire thing that we're talking about, in this case, astrology. Mercury retrograde is one of those things where, they would pick up the main themes that people, YouTubers, astrologers would talk about. Mercury retrograde, chaos, shit hitting the fan, misunderstandings, relationship fails, you're getting fired or you're quitting, just pure life unknowing shit. And then that's what it's identified as. And, and then it's obviously the cosmos doesn't lie. The energies around us are reflective of the research that these experts do to kind of give you a heads up, and you experience some of these things, and then sometimes it freaks you out to see, wow, that's true. It's really getting crazy right now, and it is a Mercury retrograde. Oh my God. And then from that point on, it's like you post about how Mercury retrograde are crazy just times, and then the cycle continues. But did you know that the hype of Mercury retrograde in general is actually new? Astrology has been around for many, many centuries. And if you research the original scrolls and information, documents out there, original historical documents, and how our past ancestors and past civilizations viewed retrograde, Mercury retrograde, it was not this big of a deal. And this is what I'm going to talk about in this video. Honestly, Mercury retrograde is not that big of a deal. And I'm going to explain to you why that is and what the truth really is around Mercury retrograde. Let's start up with saying what a Mercury retrograde is. 3 times a year, the planet Mercury appears to travel backwards across the sky. We refer to these periods as times when Mercury is in apparent retrograde or simply Mercury retrograde. Sometimes it can appear that the planet has abruptly switched directions and has started to move in reverse. This is, of course, an illusion caused by the position of Earth in relation to that of the planet. Since a planet in orbit always travels in one set direction and can't suddenly reverse course, this is why we call the phenomenon apparent retrograde motion, as it only looks like the planet is moving backwards. Humanity has gotten so sensitive lately. We have gotten lazier, it's a fact. Don't just get mad at me. We've expected convenience more so than anything. So when shit hits the fan, as it often did back in the centuries before this generation, life was rough every day. So a Mercury retrograde, it probably not been much different than their day-to-day life, with occasional weird things happening, like, some squire finds out his lover's cheating on him with the king or something. I don't know. But something like that would be expected with the Mercury retrograde. But the inconvenience and chaos and kind of shit hitting the fan, that was just life back then. Life was rough. We didn't have conveniences. We really had to work hard for a lot of things. And if you look today on the things that happen that you typically hear of, oh, this happened, because it's Mercury retrograde. It's like really petty, stupid shit. Yeah, it can be chaotic. No denying that. But in all honesty, there's nothing abnormal. And what I want to do here more than anything else, besides just telling you what it is, and that we're all pretty much pussies now, is how to handle it instead. Things and tools to use on how to get through a Mercury retrograde the right way. Now that you really know that our ancestors never thought it a big deal. But why do we do? Because we're in this generation, and that's just the way humanity is now. So what might not have been a big deal back then is an extremely big deal today. And so we need to look at it differently than I think a lot of people are advising us to. They really love to hype on, shit happening, expect pure chaos, expect things not to make sense. Yes, but that doesn't really equip you with the things you really need to focus on and the inevitable things that probably will happen that we just need to be real about during a Mercury retrograde. So now that I've explained it all, I want to give you some tools how to get through Mercury retrograde and the things that actually matter during this kind of time. And it's going to happen. This is not just the only time. I'm recording this during one. And the knowledge could not be more in my face that I had to make a video about it, because more people need to know this. And I really hope it encourages you to not fear or get nervous about a Mercury retrograde, but to respect it, respect the cosmos and what it's doing and what it's actually trying to do. And the first thing you need to know, this is needed for us. Mercury retrograde is like shaking you into reality. Those periods of time when you really need to get a reality check, that would be typically a Mercury retrograde period. And you look back on it and you realize how needed that was. You don't want your spouse to be cheating on you. So that needs to come to the surface. Things need to be brought to the surface that will better your life. And that's what God wants. That's what the divine wants. The cosmos is working for you, not against you. And even the times and the themes that look like it is against you, it's not. It's shaking things up to get your life back in order. An analogy. I have an indoor plant, a fern. I love ferns. I grew up in the Northern California. It's just, I would have a shit ton of them if I could. Every once in a while, I have to take it off of its hook. It's hanging on this off the ceiling, and I have to take it outside and I have to shake it. All the dead leaves come falling out, but that shake is needed in order to get all of that deadness out of it and kind of liven it back up. It's fresh, it's clean, and then I hang it back up. It's literally how I see a Mercury retrograde. That's what it does. It shakes your life up, and kind of all the things that need to get out of your life and be brought to the obvious they do. And that could not be more important. And you can even look at it that way as disrupting your life. You could look at it as an inconvenience. You can look at it as shit hitting the fan. But in reality, it's needed. It's like pruning you. These periods are a sculpting period to perfect you and your purpose for being here. That brings me into the second thing. This time needs to be used for bettering yourself. So instead of fighting it, instead of being worried about it, focus on accepting it and focusing on your self-care. It's all about you, especially during a Mercury retrograde. Could not be the perfect time to do self-care and learn to do self-care, like starting a new workout routine, getting healthier, drinking more water, being patient with yourself, giving yourself grace. It needs to be all about you, but not in the negative sense. It's already going to seem like it's all negative about you and your life. But in all honesty, you need to be drawn to yourself so you can take note of what needs to change throughout the chaos that might be happening. But that couldn't be more important. And the third thing, you need to learn to accept what happens. Don't fight against it. So just tell yourself now that you're going to have to chill and accept whatever comes. Don't just cave to whatever it is, but understand it. Understand its existence and presence in your life, and be willing to work with it instead of going, what the hell? Why is this happening to me? Accept it and then deal with it. You're not accepting it and making it seem it's okay to be happening, whatever that is. But you're accepting the fact that it's there, it's happening, and now you're going to deal with it properly, with control as much as possible. And the next thing is follow the themes that each Mercury retrograde will have. And I mean study it. Each one is different. They're not all the same. They bring disruption, typically. Whether that's little, subtle, emotional, physical, that's its job. Again, to bring things to the surface, to bring things out, to perfect you. And whatever kind of chaos needs to happen in order to do that. But each one comes with its own themes, and you really need to know your natal chart. You need to know yourself. So I highly recommend, if you don't know your natal chart, to pull it. You can go to astro.com. It's the most popular one that everybody uses, just to get that information. And then from there on, you can do your research onto what themes are happening and where that would apply in your life. For example, the Mercury retrograde that's happening right now is happening in my career. It's happening in my relationships more than anything else. What I literally am feeling in my heart is that I've spent this past year since March, because again, if you look at the themes, what's going on now started around the beginning of March. These are things you would figure out once you're studying it. And that theme was me pursuing growth, self-care, pursuing my businesses, advancing, focusing on that. And now towards the end of it, which happens to be in the beginning of a Mercury retrograde, I'm realizing that I put too much focus in that. While I was nurturing myself and my career and my my business and my day-to-day life and self-care, I was neglecting relationships right in front of me. So I realized I need to spend more time with my kids. I need to spend more time with my husband. I need to put my phone down more than I did in the previous months. Those things are coming to the surface around this time. But again, those things are needed. And some might create arguments. Some might create me feeling really shitty and wanting to fight it and wanting to resist and not accept the fact that, hey, I did this for us. So why is that making me feel bad? Why is that a bad thing? No, I needed to stop and realize, breathe, accept, and understand, yes, I did kind of go all out and I kind of lost myself with that goal that I had, the drive that I had. And meanwhile, things were not getting watered and nurtured around me that kind of support me throughout my life of self growth that I was wanting to pursue. If you don't know the themes around the cosmos at the time of the Mercury retrograde, then you won't really know which things to prepare for or understand more or nurture and work on. So it's so important to do that as well during these times, because that will help ground you and prepare you and help get you through the cosmos storm. And the last thing is, truly understand that a Mercury retrograde is here to heal, not cause chaos. It's here to heal. And that is how our ancestors knew before us. That's why they didn't freak out. That's why there's no historical evidence of it being a feared thing like it so much is today. Our cultures and our ways of how things have changed has affected that definition and the true meaning of what a Mercury retrograde is. And we really need to go back to the roots of things and know that, no, that's not the way it was. It's not the way it is. It could be chaotic, but it's here to heal. It's here to bring things to the surface, and it's here to make you better, here to make your life better. Honestly, when I think back on all of the Mercury retrogrades in my life, they were never boring. Some were actually fun. Some were so needed. Some were the best periods of my life because they were the most chaotic. And chaos is not always a bad thing. Having your life disrupted isn't always a bad thing. My first marriage, I was in a loveless marriage. I did not love my husband. It was pretty much an agreed upon contract, our marriage, and it was difficult. Talk about a boring, mundane life. I would have killed for a disruptive Mercury retrograde. It would have been welcomed. And when one did come, in a certain period in my life where my life was going to significantly change, and I didn't know how, but there was a period, an 8-year part of the cosmos that had been rolled out, and I knew based on what the cosmos was showing that this was going to be 8 years of nutty change, but that I will be really going into my destiny. I will be becoming the woman I was meant to be, and it couldn't have been more spot on. It always is. You don't make up anything. The cosmos is fact. It's science. It's there. More is coming out to how real it is. And it did. And it kicked off strong with that Mercury retrograde, but I fell in love with the most amazing man, who currently is my husband. And it couldn't have been more impactful and beautiful and exciting and thrilling in my life. And I'm so thankful it happened. So again, Mercury retrograde is here to heal. Healing is not always painless, but it's not always painful either. So I hope you get a different perspective that might not be clearly talked about much, but it's the truth. If these astrologers go back in time, they would see people did not fear these periods as much as we are being taught or told to fear them. We have just gotten spoiled, frankly. Really fucking spoiled. And we don't like change. We don't like disruption. We don't like working emotionally working for things. We don't like having, we don't like confrontations. You know how many people are afraid of confrontations and arguing? It's insane that that's literally one of the number one issues in relationships, is people don't want to talk to them and tell them what's going on, tell them what's bothering them. They keep it secret or hidden. Communication is not always great for the majority of relationships. The Mercury retrograde opens things up, whether you like it or not. And so many actually need that. Thanks for watching. And I hope you come back, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.